let's talk about what comes next here. It's, again, when you lose a Super Bowl like this with a team like the Eagles have, it's heartbreaking because this team is never going to be back together in its current form.
Yeah.
Even if you're excited about the core, and they should be excited about the core. So Miles Sanders is a free agent. We'll see what happens with Jason Kelce. His contract's kind of weird. He's obviously deep into his 30s.
Mm-hmm.
There's a chance that Jason Kelce retires. Brandon Graham could very likely be moving on. Javon Hargrave is a free agent. Fletcher Cox, James Bradbury, CJ Gardner-Johnson. Some of these finishing strokes that put this roster over the top, they were short-term deals to get them to this moment. And now who knows what's going to happen.
And that's why how he gets those draft picks going.
Yeah, that's right.
that's why that kind of helps.
About this. The Eagles are in a very good position.
Very good position.
Very good
position. It's I really have liked this kind of discussions we've had. I talked about it already on the show about like the moving pieces of like a sustained success team.
Yeah.
And that's what was really cool though about this team, because we'll always remember this team with the sneaks, just a very complete roster on both sides of the ball. Like this is one of the most complete rosters I've ever seen, really, in the NFL.
Well, it is.
It is.
Absolutely
I mean, you see sometimes offense. Oh, they have a loaded offense and one good defensive player, but this was just littered with all pros, littered with Pro Bowlers, littered with tangibly good players. I mean, just look at the defensive line for the Eagles. So again, I agree with you. That's it feels weird. It's like they're gonna be fine. But also it's just kind of a little sadness, I think, because I was really starting to enjoy this Eagles team.
Think about the core that they have coming back.
Yeah.
Okay. Mailata signed long-term. Landon Dickerson's on a rookie contract. Lane Johnson will still be here. A.J. Brown, long-term move. Devontae Smith, long-term move. Dallas Goedert is signed to an extension. Josh Sweat is signed to an extension. Hassan Reddick will be here. Darius Slay is still under contract. I believe Marcus Epps might also be a free agent.
Okay.
He came on very strong this year, obviously. So they're going to have to
hit a couple moments tonight that are really, really smart plays.
Somebody that absolutely was much better and much more important to this team than I thought he was going to be. So they're going to have to figure out the secondary and to retool that a little bit.
Yeah.
And then beyond what this roster looks like, coaches. I mean, by all accounts, it does sound like Shane Steichen is the leader in the clubhouse or the guy expected to get the Colts job. Thank God, by the way. That's where they landed on, and it wasn't Saturday.
I know.
I think that I'm excited to see what he does as the head coach.
I agree.
Because I think that everything he's done, Shane Steichen's selling point when he was in these interviews for head coaching jobs, I could say with confidence, your sell is I'm going to create an offense and create a way of playing that is built to the strengths of my players.
Yeah.
That is lip service for a lot of guys.
Balance.
Look at the Eagles over the last 2 years. It is not just a thing to say.
Right.
They've literally done that. They have shifted who they are offensively, what their identity is, what they lean on, depending on who their players are and what they do well. It's all you can want in an offensive coach in this era, in my opinion. And he has shown a distinct ability to do that.
And it shows an understanding of that. So especially if he takes that step forward as a head coach, that's what you want to see, because then he's going to oversee both sides of the ball and special teams as well. Special teams deserves a mention as well, especially for the impact it had tonight.
I can always count on you. I'm
trying to be good about it. I'm trying to be good. I feel like special teams coaches are permanently grouchy because of that fact, of like how we talk about them. But no, it's everything you want to see. You want to see that creativity. We both became really big fans of what the Eagles were doing on offense because of that adaptability.
Even last year.
That's what I mean.
Coming into the season, my thought about them was they were really in a box last year.
Yeah.
But what they did to get there and how thoughtful it was and how intentional it was and just the plan they had, it made me optimistic for what they could look like as they grew, as they got better players, as Jalen Hurts developed. And I think that's kind of what I've come to learn about how to project teams moving forward is like, okay, well, if they were good at this and they were flexible in this, then they can keep going, and like even the Bears offense this year, like what they built around Justin Fields, it's like, okay. Like, I know when you actually get some receivers and you get some offensive linemen, like
the bones are good.
Yes. The bones are good.
Yep.
And we knew the bones of the 2021 Eagles were good. And then the quarterback gets a shitload better and they get a lot of really good players because their GM is a very proactive man.
It's like what Marvel does. They just take some low budget director and they're like, man, this guy's pretty good. And they give him a big budget movie. That's what basically the Eagles do in Station. I mean, he honestly because his background, it shouldn't look like this, how this offense looks. So the only play that from a Norv Turner offense, as I mentioned this many times, that's what his true background is. I mean, he's done a lot of coaches he's worked under. That touchdown to A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
That over route with the corner route, that is a big
play
action. big, heavy 7-step concepts. The corner to Dallas Goedert. Those are the traditional types of plays. But he's sprinkling creativity. The run game is so creative. I know Jeff Stoutland has a big impact on that, but he has to be willing to call it and package plays together because they would go into they get into empty. One last scheme thing. Sorry, guys. But they get into empty. They're killing plays. They're packaging those runs and passes together because they're beating them. They understand. We talked about Andy Reid breaking rules, understanding coverages. He's just as good. I mean, maybe not just as good, but he's very, very good at doing the exact same things and understanding what defense is trying to do. And that just shows he knows ball. That's the biggest compliment I can give him. He really does.
So they're going to have to figure out what the offensive side of the ball looks like. The nice part is you have an offensive-minded head coach who has called plays.
Yes.
So, and then Brian Johnson, their quarterback's coach, is somebody that other teams were talking to. You have hopefully a natural replacement within the building if he gets elevated to that role. And again, the ecosystem that you've created on that side of the ball, even losing your offensive coordinator, this team is potentially set up to survive that in a way that other teams might not be.
Right.
And then you look at, again, the underlying talent that they have and the resources that they have. This team has some financial flexibility next season, which I don't know how, but they have like $15 million in cap space with the team that they have. So we'll see if they can retain. Losing Hargrave is the one I keep going back to. Like his ability to just dominate one-on-one.
He made a couple of big plays tonight.
It's just like that one is a little bit tough. So how can they maybe replace that? What does the defensive line rotation look like? Again, a lot of short-term bets, Linval Joseph and Dominican Sue. So some retooling needs to happen, but you have your offensive-minded head coach back, and you have a quarterback that it's hard not to be excited about who he was this season and what it means for them moving forward.
What you mentioned, and you said all these guys are under contract, the young guys, the Devontae Smiths, even the A.J. Browns, the Dallas Goederts, all these guys are under deals, Jordan Mailata. What helps is, again, it's that rotating cast, and that now they don't have to rely on like these certain guys. They have their building blocks. Literally, they're the building blocks of the team. So that kind of helps the transition period if there is going to be one. It depends, again, what they're going to do. The Hargrave call is a good one. You know, other guys are getting older, a couple of other offensive linemen, but it really is. There's a lot of just good things with this team, like just as far as what they can rely on. Playmakers. Yeah. I mean, those
guys are all back.
They're all coming back.
Yeah.
The big three for this offense are all coming back, and they can find another Zach Pascal. Like they don't need. There's no question about who's our second receiving option. Done.
Yeah.
And
you have one of the arguably the best second receiving option in the entire league.
Exactly.
Between Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, and this guy, a lot of good ones.
Yes.
We'll see what happens with the potential Jalen Hurts extension. It's one more cheap year anyway, though. They got one more year where they're paying him pennies, and they can wield that in the way that they have so far. I think that puts them in a good position. And also, this team has the 10th pick in the draft.
Of course they do. Of course they do. I'll never get over when you said that they had the Saints second round of the next year or whatever it was. Yeah, that was the one.
Find $5 bills in your pocket. You know, that's kind of how the
Eagles
team building process
Everything
goes.
comes up, Howie.